Thank you very much, Las Cion Corla. Minister, this question relates to Brexit and our preparedness for Brexit for all possible scenarios, particularly from a customs perspective. We had an update from yourself at the Budgetary Oversight Committee and indeed from the Chairperson of the Revenue Commissioners at the Finance Committee within the last 3 weeks. But we are now just 6 weeks away from potentially a cliff edge, hard Brexit. So I'm looking for an update to the House, please, on the state of preparedness from a customs perspective.
Minister. Continued efficient flow of legitimate trade through Ireland's ports and airports is a key priority for the Government. In this regard, the Revenue Commissioners have undertaken significant preparations to date, with work intensifying in recent months. In terms of resource requirements, the Revenue Commissioner determined that an additional 600 staff will be required to manage the impact of Brexit. Those staff are to be deployed on a phased basis up to the end of December 2020. It's estimated that approximately half of the staff will be assigned to import and export trade facilitation activities, half to national divisions that will be engaged in trade facilitations and customs control and oversight activities, including at a specific trader case level. I'm now advised that the Revenue have accelerated and expanded their recruitment and training schedules to meet the 29th of March and will deliver the target of 400 additional staff in place by that point. The balancing complement of the additional staff will be recruited across the rest of the year. During 2018, the Revenue Commissioner chaired an interdepartmental group which was established to consider the adequacy of port and airport infrastructure and facilities post-Brexit. This was done on the basis of both a central case and no-deal scenario. Infrastructural requirements were identified at Dublin Port, Rosslare Europort and Dublin Airport. Intensive work is now underway to have this infrastructure in place by the 29th of March. This work is being led by the Office of Public Works. Significant work has now happened to upgrade our IT systems so that we have advanced systems in place. And I am assured that the IT systems will have the capacity that is required to manage the increased transaction levels which are anticipated in a no-deal scenario. This will be in place by the 29th of March. Allied to this work, Revenue has now undertaken significant trader engagement, working closely with businesses and trade and representative bodies.
Thank you, Minister, for the reply. Can you confirm, Minister, how many extra staff are actually in place right now with the Revenue? You have said that by the end of March, 400 are expected to be in place. But as of now, 6 weeks out from Brexit, can you confirm how many of those 400 are actually in place? Because obviously there will be a training requirement involving several weeks. What remains a major concern, Minister, is the fact that so many SMEs are not prepared for Brexit. The Chairperson of the Revenue told us that they estimate about 70,000 SMEs in Ireland traded with the UK in 2017. And we've had survey after survey telling us that many of them, regrettably, have not taken significant steps to be prepared for what could potentially be an enormous challenge. So if you could address that point in your response and acknowledge as well, Minister, that much of the work in relation to our ports is not sufficiently advanced. We're not going to be there. We're not going to be ready. That is the reality as of the end of March. Thank you.
Minister's 1 minute. So, in relation to your 3 points, Deputy, I don't have the information available to me now regarding how many have currently been recruited, but I imagine I'll be able to get that information for you quickly, and I will share it with the Deputy. In relation to the second question, in relation to engagement with traders, it is, I think, fair to say that many businesses would still have a lot of work that would need to be done quickly in the case of a no-deal scenario. But the Revenue Commissioners have now engaged with 85,000 traders, and within this includes 70,000 businesses in the SME sector. In relation to the concern that the Deputy has in relation to the readiness of our ports and airports in a no-deal scenario, we have done a huge amount to be as ready as we can. The government made decisions in relation to the planning processes that would be needed in order to deliver this. And by port, we do know what needs to be done for Rossall Airport, Dublin Port, and then for Dublin Airport. And we are doing all that can be done to ensure the right level of infrastructure is in place to deal with a no-deal risk.
I get the final and supplementary.
Yeah, thank you for the reply, Minister. And I am aware of the correspondence that Revenue has sent out to those SMEs, setting out the issues that are involved for them. And I think this is probably a good opportunity for you as Minister for Finance to give your perspective as to where things stand overall in relation to Brexit at this point in time, Minister. Your sense of the likelihood of a no-deal scenario. We've discussed our preparedness as a country for that really terrible scenario. But what is your perspective as the overall guardian of the economy at this point in time as to the likelihood of a deal being done, the likelihood of an extension to Article 50, or the likelihood of the worst of all cases, which is a crash with Brexit on the 29th of March? If you can update the House on that issue.
Minister.
In relation to my assessment of a no-deal scenario and the likelihood of it, yes, it is a clear and distinct risk that we are now planning for. In the last number of days, in the last week, I have met the Revenue Commissioner, I've met the NTMA, and I've met the Central Bank to review where we are from a preparedness point of view, and in particular with a focus on how we would respond to challenges in relation to our state, our financial position and financial markets regulation. And I am satisfied, Deputy, that all that can be done in those areas has now happened. In relation to my assessment of what will happen, I'm not in a position where I can be a commentator on this, as you will appreciate, because I'm a participant in it. And I believe and know that all will be done inside the parameters that the government has laid out to look to secure an agreement. But we will and clearly do have a difficult period ahead in relation to seeing if that agreement can be secured.
And